Borderlands 4, I genuinely had a really good time with. And I'm not even allowed to show yet all of what I got to see and play. But I think that one actually could do very, very well. Borderlands 4 was very solid based on what I saw. What about the humor? That's one thing. Like, we were playing like some boss fights. We did some basic exploration. At one point, I was exploring part of the map and I found a secret boss just because I rounded a corner randomly. So I saw a good amount of the game, but I didn't do a whole lot of like carefully scripted, like long cutscenes as part of the main story. They kind of wanted us to try playing outside parts or like secondary areas and just exploring, like what you're going to do for most of the gameplay time. But based on what I saw, I did not see any bizarre, like really forced cringe humor. In fact, let me see if I can pull it up. This is our video on the big channel about it. And there's specifically one spot where I mention, because I don't remember their names, I mentioned the two writers. Here they are. I think this is it. Is that we had developers on the project that were in the room with us. Specifically, we were in the room with Anthony Nicholson and Graham Timmons, who, as you can see, are the senior producer and the creative director on the game. Of course, you'll recognize them from this PlayStation State of Play that they did at the end of April, showcasing this game initially. And they said something very interesting, which, again, I haven't really had the chance to confirm myself, but they said they specifically wanted to make sure the tone of the game and the writing was grounded within the world itself. They didn't want the dialogue or the jokes to feel like they were just memes from out of nowhere that had nothing to do with what was going on. They wanted it to feel like all the characters actually lived in this world and existed there. They said they didn't want dialogue to feel out of place. They didn't want like an offhand comment to feel like, oh, that was just their attempt at a Hawk Tuah joke. Like they didn't want that. They wanted it to feel native to the world. And that is what I would hope to hear. Like, that's a good thing to hear for me. But whether or not that ends up being the case, time will tell. Again, I just didn't have the chance to really sink my teeth into it, but they're saying the right things, at least in my opinion. And this is perhaps the important bit. They're saying the right things as far as I'm concerned, because personally, I don't want Borderlands 4 to just be filled with like, oh, look, there's a hawk to a bird flying over there. Like, I don't want that. I'm good. It's just kind of cringe and try hard. Maybe some people love Hawk Tuah jokes and want all of them, but I'm good. I don't need a lot of Diddy jokes. I don't need a lot of like Tom Brady jokes. Like, we just don't need it. We don't need it. Okay. So I think if, they actually deliver on what they're saying here, they're trying to make sure that the comedy is emergent, it's based in the world, and it's from the characters just being themselves. Okay. I'm open to that. I like that. And what I will say is, having played the game for a handful of hours, I did not hear a lot of like super cringe, super weird, outrageous stuff. Okay, I didn't, which is good. This is some of the IGN gameplay, which I can have pulled up and stuff and show you. So we got to do a couple of different like boss fights. We got to try a handful of different things. I thought the movement felt really, really tight. I thought the different abilities were really cool and worked well. I didn't really notice like any bugs or problems. The only thing that I encountered that was like a problem was at one point we were doing a vault mission that we can't show footage of yet. And it was like a big boss fight. And he's supposed to have like, I don't know what it is, an 8% drop rate on a legendary gun. But the first time I beat the boss, it dropped 2 legendary guns at the same time. And they were like, yeah, that shouldn't happen. Like, that should be impossible. So we're fixing that. But honestly, that's a good problem to have as far as I'm concerned. Like, I wasn't complaining. But yeah, it was like pretty polished. It worked pretty well. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that, especially considering it's still, months away. And typically nowadays in the industry, it feels like most games are kind of thrown together at the last second. As for other stuff, the open world areas seemed interesting enough. There are like emergent and dynamic events and things that spawn. So the map will, of course, be the same. It's not procedurally generated for everybody, but the different encounters and stuff should shake it up, and there should be different things for each player, depending on, how things spawn and kind of how the cookie crumbles in that way. But what else? Yeah, lots of different weapons for us to experiment with. Lots of different experimentation. It was really solid. One thing is also the ammo drops from enemies. So you are encouraged to be like hyper, or like the shields and stuff drop from enemies. So you're encouraged to be very aggressive. Like they really want you to get up in the enemy's face. Can you describe the vault, hunter sand, their skills? Oh, vault. I was like hunter sand. Where is hunter sand? Vaults, hunters, and their skills. So here's the tricky bit. There are a couple of things they don't want us to discuss quite yet. They didn't want to do a full like info dump on just one day. They wanted to break it up a little bit over like, you know, a few days separation or whatever, so that people have time to like absorb the previews and then see the other information. So there's some stuff I can't discuss or go into detail with. So I'm limited on like the vault, for example. Can't go much into that yet. Time will come where I can, but there's that. As for the hunters, I can mention that. So as you can see here, we have Siren. We had access to Siren, or do they have footage of the other one? The other one is like this guy. I can't remember his name. Maybe he says it.
Foes. These add an interesting dimension to defining your build, as you could just play it safe and equip the item that offers the most healing with the shortest cooldown. But
Rafa, thank you, Rafa. I was like Rafa. Thank you for that. So they had different, you know, abilities and things and different skills that make them useful in different situations. Personally, I really liked Siren, which is purple chick right here. She had really cool abilities specifically for summoning duplicates of herself. And this was handy specifically with a big boss I did, because he had this thing where he would kind of go up into the ceiling and kind of swing around. And it was very frustrating if you didn't have either enough ammo or high enough damage weapons to get him down and to do stuff like that. But for her, you can summon either a melee variant of herself or a ranged variant. And so I would just pop like 3 summons of basically her ranged variant to help fight alongside me. And it worked great. And then there's specific upgrade trees for all of these as well, which is quite nice to see. And there were ways for respecking and things. We didn't have enough time to really get into it, but there is a good amount here. And I think that, you know, out of the 2 we played, I really liked Siren. The one time that I thought maybe like the writing and stuff could get annoying was specifically with Rafa's like banter. You know how a lot of characters have like, you run around, oh, I'm getting too old for this kind of thing as they're shooting people. Stuff like that is kind of annoying. And you know, he had some lines where I was like, oh, okay, can we calm down? But like, again, was that just one line that rubbed me the wrong way? I don't know. I don't know if I'm being hypersensitive to it. I didn't notice anything like that with Siren, which is nice to see. As for other stuff, yeah, I mean, it's just, I was pleasantly surprised by it. We did, like I said, they flew me, and I was surprised there wasn't many people. There were like 1, 2, I think there were 7 or 8 of us the day that I went. And I didn't recognize like hardly anybody. I recognized like one person. They were all either Borderlands specific channels, or they were like smaller up and coming streamers or YouTubers or what have you. So it's very, very small and niche, but that was nice because it gave us a chance to actually get to know each other before we like paired up and did co-op stuff. But yeah, so they flew us out to California, where we played the game in person instead of doing like a remote cloud stream thing. So technically my video on it is a sponsored video, but as with all of our sponsored stuff, we specify that I have to be allowed to say whatever I want to say. Otherwise we don't do it. And they agreed. They actually were like, we'll put it in the contract in black and white that you say whatever you want to say. If you have notes, if you have things you don't like, put it in your video and we can't ask you to remove it and stuff like that. And that to me is always like thumbs up, that they're so confident they'll fly me out to play the game like at their studio, and I may not like it. And they're saying you can say you don't like it if you don't like it, but they're that confident in their product that they're willing to do that, which is, again, I think a good sign. But as for this, like me talking about right now, of course, like this stream is not sponsored or anything. I'm just describing my experience with it. And, you know, shocker, my opinion echoes what I said in the video I made. It's the same. Pleasantly surprised by it. I think it's pretty solid. I had a good time, and I'm still, you know, not sure about the writing and stuff, but what I saw was really promising, and I think that they might be onto something, and I think it's in a really good spot for how early it was as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. As also shown off by some other outlets, IGN, we played Borderlands 4 after several hours, dipping our toes into what is sure to be a massive looter shooter. We're much more optimistic about its odds of recapturing our affections after years apart. Other ones like The Independent, I had a preview of Borderlands 4 and it could be the best looter shooter of all time. I spent 2 hours playing the new launch ahead of its September release, describing how much they liked it. And then also Paul put together a collection of these. IGN, after several hours, I just read that one. Game Informer, with Gearbox, it truly feels like Borderlands 4 is taking those steps to change the direction of a franchise that had been drifting away from me for more than a decade, while still remaining staunchly true to its overarching identity. Screen Rant said, it's hard to distill everything I loved about my time playing Borderlands 4 down to a digestible length. I could go on for far too long about how great the new throwing knives are, or how this is easily one of the best written Borderlands content, thanks to the game's humor staying grounded in its own world as opposed to relying too hard on dated internet culture. Individual like videos from content creators, Moxie, Jolts, Epic. This echoes the sense previews gave that this had taken the immense amount of feedback and criticism from the still very successful Borderlands 3. Two areas that have been significantly addressed are the dramatic increase in mobility, ranging from grappling hooks to gliding, to make the combat feel more fast-paced and modern. It's also refreshing to hear the writing is less memey than it used to be, harkening back to the Borderlands 1 days of the series, where sure, there was comedy, but it didn't go overboard to the point of being exceptionally lame, something Borderlands 3 had in spades, which again, like, feels like Borderlands 3, you played 5 minutes of it and you would be hit with like 5 random jokes and it's just like, stop. Like, please chill out, please. And they weren't good jokes either. But with this game, I mean, we played it for hours and I don't remember anything that I perceived as particularly cringy, except for, again, like a line from Rafa while running around where I was like, he could talk less, you know, telling the devs he could talk a little bit less because he never shuts up. But again, that stuff is still being tuned, I'm sure. So overall, previews are very, very positive. Very, very positive. And as you can see here, there will be more to say in the future. Andrew Reiner, who is the Father Global Creative Executive Officer at Gearbox, quoted a section from the IGN bit where the IGN person said, I can say that the one boss I fought a number of times is perhaps the most mechanics heavy and interesting enemy I've encountered in Borderlands. And if it's at all representative of the level of quality we can expect from Borderlands 4, then we are in for a treat. And I will say all the bosses I encountered were very different, like truly distinct. Even the one that I kind of stumbled onto because I rounded a corner up along a cliffside thinking I would just find another cliff and had nowhere to go. That boss was like this spider monstrosity and was very, very unique in its own way. I think I have it was this one over here. It starts with like waves of enemies in its little lair. And then, the Queen's Badass Psycho. Yeah, Horus was another boss we fought. And then, of course, there's another one I can't talk about. But this is even before the big boss spawns and jumps out. Like, you're fighting the grunts to kind of lure her out. But I had a really, really, I was pleasantly surprised to stumble onto a big boss that was very, very unique compared to everything else I was fighting. Because these types of games, you can very easily stumble into situations where it's just like the same enemies 15,000 times. But it was solid. It was really solid. And I went into it not thinking it was going to be that solid. So I was pleasantly surprised by it. And, I still have question marks around it, specifically writing. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about like progression within the main campaign and stuff like that. But as of right now, thumbs up. Like, I thought it was pretty good. So happy to report that. Keep an eye on Borderlands. I'm excited to see more.